Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Testing, testing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very first live stream workshop. If any of you guys missed our announcements, I mean, we did initially plan to do a headshot workshop tonight, but due to circumstances, I'm sure it's no news to anyone, we decided that was not the best idea. So we're instead going to do some still life photography tonight. Yeah, let's have a bit more about that from Tracy here.
All right, well, hello everyone. So what we decided to do tonight is basically walk you through a still life kind of setup. I brought in some of my Lego here, and we're gonna basically go through a miniature studio setup with a number of lights, a bunch of different modifiers, how to sort of balance those lights, positions, turn lights off and on, power levels, all that kind of stuff, and go through and talk about the gear, talk about the setup, talk about the camera settings, talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and hopefully get some interesting shots out of it. And definitely, hopefully you guys will interact with us as well too. Give us questions if you want clarification on what we're doing, how we're setting everything up. That's what we're here for. So.
Yeah, guys, that's right. So who's ready to see some grown men play with some Lego?
You know, we always like gear, camera gear. Lego is part of that as well too. So we wanted to start off tonight too with talking about one of the newest pieces of gear we just got in. I'm just going to pull it off of the stand here, and just got these in. They are quite brand new for us. Pull it off here. The AD300 Pro, and Kevin, you and Jesse just did a video on this. I believe it's up now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a pretty cool piece of kit. I mean, with that giant reflector on it, maybe you can't see just how tiny it is.
There we go.
This will be the very brief infomercial part of this. We just got to show you it because we're so excited about it. It's just like, it's just so cool.
For our shoot tonight, so that crazy little 300 watt second light, battery powered, just a neat little piece of gear. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, you can see how tiny it is.
Yeah, and this is we've got this mounted in the S2 bracket, which fits it very nicely. Allows you to put it onto a stand and mount any Bowens adapter, Bowens speed ring modifier to it, whatever you like. And we're going to be using it with a reflector and a grid tonight.
Got one comment saying, for lighting folks, our scene sure is dark. And yes, it is. And that's kind of on purpose. We want to be able to show you what things look like under the modeling light here. So we really didn't want to overpower our scene too much. So you're getting to look at some sort of moody shots of us tonight. Hopefully you don't mind too much.
The other reason we're doing that as well too is we have a black background that we're using, and keeping that background nice and dark. We're going to talk a bit about that. Well, we might as well talk about it right now. So if you're shooting against a black backdrop, a couple of key things you want to think about is you want to keep it black. You want to keep that background really dark, so you don't want any light on it. Ambient light, usually with your camera settings, you can have, if you set your shutter speed high enough, your aperture small enough, you can take out some of that ambient light, but we want to keep it as dark as possible, and then also keep our subject away from the background so that any light we're lighting our subject up with doesn't spill onto the background. Keep it nice and dark. So that's one reason why we don't have a lot of lights on in the shop here yet.
Yeah, exactly. Another quick question. Yes, you can use the AD200 battery in the AD300 Pro. So it's nice that they kept them compatible.
Yes, yeah, I believe. I don't think we have a rating on number of shots with it yet, but you definitely can use that same battery in there.
Yeah, more testing is required for sure. Tracy, why don't you get us started here? What are we going to work on tonight?
Okay. So what I wanted to do is basically do a multi-light setup with a still life subject, and talk a little bit about what we're doing, why we're lighting it, and to make it interesting. So you can do a basic one light setup for a lot of different things. If you're just doing basic product photography, that can work. One light can be good. You want to show all the details, not a lot of shadows. But that's good for just showing off a product if you're trying to sell it or something. What I wanted to do tonight is talk a little bit more about dramatic kind of lighting. Edge lighting, backlighting, multiple lights to show off different parts of the subject, working with grids, working with barn doors to really target specific areas of the subject that we're shooting and make it hopefully more interesting, more dramatic looking kind of shot. So what I wanted to do is kind of run through the setup and what I've got for lights. So first off, I've got my AD300 up here, our new light. That's going to be sort of our top light coming down and spotlighting our subject. That's kind of one of the main lights that we've got. I've got another light back over here shooting sort of towards the camera position, which is going to sort of edge light the wing of our TIE fighter here, our old school TIE fighter, give it some light raking across the side to give it some texture, some depth, that kind of thing, and give it that edge light. I've got another speed light over here coming from this side to hopefully give us some light on our subjects here and light up the front of our still life, our TIE fighter here. And then I've got a fourth light over here as a general light. We'll maybe add that in, play around with it, see how it looks. I've got the AD300. I've got one of my Canon speed lights on a XR receiver. I've got one of our Strobepro manual speed lights, and then I've got an AD200. And I wanted to do that as well too to show that we can mix and match all these different lightings. Speed lights, AD200, studio lighting, they all work together and they all work functionally with one of our triggers. So we've got, I've set them up into at this point, 4 groups right now. A, B, C, and D. And what I like to do, especially when I get into multiple lights like that, is label them. So I've got an A on that one, a B, a C, and a D. So I know when I'm playing around with settings and trying to change power levels and everything, I know which light I'm trying to set instead of having to try and remember which each one is. So I've got those labeled, and then essentially what we're going to do is build up each light in the shot and see what that light is doing and how we can play around with it and change it and get the shot we're looking for. So what we're going to do first is we will start with our A light, the AD300, and I'm going to turn all the other lights off. Actually, I'm going to do something different here. Let's do this because I wanted to show you this as well too. The Godox photo app, we're going to go into that. I'm going to go into, it is connected by Bluetooth to my X2T trigger on the camera here. So it's basically, I can communicate through this trigger to all the lights. And I'm able to go into Flash here. And as you can see, I've got all my groups, power settings. I can turn the lights off and on and control everything from the app, which is kind of neat. It's kind of fun to play around with. The other thing we're doing as well is we are basically tethering the camera to Lightroom. So really I don't have to touch the camera at all unless I want to change camera position. But I can fire the camera remotely from Lightroom, and I can change all my light power levels and settings from the app on the phone, which is really cool. If I want to move positions, I will have to go in and change position of the light and all that kind of stuff. But changing power levels, all that kind of thing is very good. So what I'm going to do is turn off all of the other lights except for my A light, the AD300. I can just put all these other ones on standby. And we're going to take a test shot here and see what we get, see what it looks like. So Kevin, if you want, Kevin's in charge of Lightroom. He's got the Lightroom going on the computer here. So if you want to fire off a shot, if you get a minute, or I can.
Yeah, can do. So actually, maybe we kind of spoiled it here because we did take a little test shot beforehand. Yeah. Hang on, what happened? There it is. So right now we are using tethered capture, so I can actually see all of the camera's settings up here, and I can trigger the shutter. Yep. So this is a great way to work in the studio. Like right now we're using flashes, so we're not necessarily concerned about blurring the shot by moving the camera. We're just being extreme sticklers for our framing because, I mean, even on a sturdy tripod, if you press the shutter on there, it's possible to move it a little bit. I'll just take another shot here. And there we go. So yeah, Tracy did adjust the framing there a little bit, and that's what we're working with at the moment.
And so another reason I like to use Lightroom, tethered capture when I'm shooting still lifes and this kind of thing is because it gives me a really nice instant big view of my shot. And I can zoom in and check focus in places. I can look at exposure levels. I can see, I can even start to play around with a bit of editing to see if I want to change anything. Gives me a really good preview and a good idea of what that shot's going to look like when it's finished. So what I was hoping to do there is, let's do one more, Kevin. Sorry.
Can do. Let's see what that looks like.
So what I'm doing is I wanted to show you, I've turned this 8300 up to basically full power now. And just to sort of see what kind of light you're working with. So what I'm going to be doing is looking at my camera. Normally I'd be looking at Lightroom, but I can look at the back here as well too, and see what that single light is doing, where it's falling, what kind of level I've got on it, and I can start to adjust from there. So I'm actually going to slide over.
Sorry about the mics there, guys. Made a little mistake. If you didn't catch any of that, just let us know.
Yep. Yeah, give us a shout. So I'm just going to adjust the framing a little bit. And looking at that shot, I'm thinking that's a bit too bright. I would like to turn that light down a bit. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this, was start off with something a little bright in those bright areas. I want this kind of, it's a TIE fighter, it's Imperial TIE fighter, kind of want that dark kind of setup going. A couple more things on the props and that stuff I have here. So I've got this TIE fighter here. I've got a couple figures at the bottom. I've also got a piece of black plexiglass, black acrylic. Plexiglass would work the same, that I got a while ago that I've used for doing kind of still life product photography. And I like this. Mainly I wanted to bring this in and use it because it has a reflection. And so I'm getting reflections. As we start to bring in some more lights, you'll start to see some reflections of our little guys down here and of the TIE fighter itself as well too. And sort of gives it that sort of little extra touch where you've got some reflections going on in there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that light. It's hitting the three figures in the front. It's edge lighting the front there. And I'm pretty happy with that. Looks pretty good. So I like the power level. I like the way it's set. I've got a 20-degree grid on here, so it gives it a fairly narrow spotlight effect, which again is helping to keep that from spreading onto my background. If I take that grid off, let's just do a shot without the grid, Kevin, just for fun.
For just a second here,
oh,
Tracy.
Sorry. Yep, absolutely.
Sorry, we appear to be having some technical difficulties. For anyone still with us, we apologize. It was definitely going to be a miracle if we made it through this first one without something like this happening. I'm just trying to reduce the bit rate on our stream here a bit, so see if that's going to pick it back up again. Yes, maybe someone can let us know if anything's improved. All good? Okay, that's a good sign.
Okay, good.
Having some issues with quality, yes. 720 steady. Okay, yeah. I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe it's our connection or something. We've done longer streams than this and not had issues. Hardware encoder, maybe.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys. We'll get it sorted out here.
Okay, guys, I'm going to hope that's a little better now. Okay. Sorry, and thanks for sticking with us. And Tracy, I apologize if I made you lose your train of thought there.
Nope,
but
no worries. I am good. I was going to get you to do another shot, if you can, and show it with this, just the reflector, but without the grid now. And you'll see, hopefully, quite a bit of difference here. Yes, that's what I was hoping for. So,
all right, so I'll just quickly show the before and after.
Yes.
There's the before.
We're getting a lot more light,
there's the after.
Onto the bottom here, a little bit on the background. Yeah, we're definitely getting it sweeps up onto the background. Just not as directed, not as focused kind of light. And that's what that grid gives us. It gives that very precise control over the light and where we want it. So, and in this type of photography, and in portrait photography too, in situations where you want a hair light or an edge light or something where you want it very precise, that's what these grids really do, give you that very precise focus. One thing we didn't mention on the AD300, great little light, it has an awesome modeling light. And that really does give us, you can actually see the difference just in the modeling light here between the grid and no grid. Hopefully you guys can see that.
Yeah, if you want to step towards the middle, Tracy, I'll show them from the other camera here.
Okay, so more like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So no grid, grid. And you can actually see a big difference even just with the modeling light on what you're getting. And that's what modeling lights are awesome for, is they allow you to see, preview what you're going to get. And especially when you're using things like grids and strip boxes and where you want to see where that edge is and see where you're feathering, see where that spotlight goes. Awesome. And that's one of the really nice things about that 300, really, really good modeling light on it. Which is
actually showed it better from the first angle, but that's okay. Just because of the way the fins are on that TIE Fighter. But.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. All right, so we've got our first light set up. So now what I'm going to do is go back to my app. I'm going to turn off my A light, and now we're going to go on to our B light. And we're going to fire just this back flash here and see what we're getting with that. So I think actually I can probably do a shot here. There we go. So that's the direction and that's the intensity that we're getting with that back light. On this light, I have a little set of barn doors, and I think, yeah, I'm going to stick with those, and I can sort of just play around with the position here. Let me just take a look at that on the back. So I'm going to come across, bring this out a little bit farther out like this to get a little more light on this wing over here, that kind of thing. There we go. Quite a big difference there between those two. Just by moving that light a little bit and playing with the barn doors, I can sort of really fine tune and feather where I want the light to come across there. So what this light is really just doing, this basically left wing is what we're looking for. A little bit of edge light up on top of there. Now, a couple things before I forget. One of the things in this type of photography as well too is focus. Where do you focus? How do you focus? What I like to do, and again on my camera, I can go into live view, and I'm going to focus basically right on the cockpit. Again, I'm shooting at f13, so I've got decent depth of field, not a ton because we're still focused in fairly close. But what I do is I zoom in on my screen here. This is 10 times magnification, and then I can fine tune my focus. You guys may not be able to see that on the screen there, but essentially that's what I'm doing. Zooming in on my back screen on my live view, and so I can get my focus exactly where I want it, and then go out of live view. So that's generally how I focus. And again, I can check that when I'm tethering in Lightroom. I can zoom right into Lightroom and really check in where I want that focus to be and tweak it if I need to. So.
Yeah, it seems to be sharp all the way across, Tracy, so.
Good. Now we could up our aperture. We could go to 14, 16, somewhere in there. I don't want to go too much smaller than f16, but if 14 or 13 is looking good, let's stick with that. I think that'll be good. Now, the other thing. So actually, that's looking pretty good, I would say. Not really getting any spill. I'm just going to slide this over just a bit.
Yeah, this part is interesting because he's essentially imagining what it's all going to look like when we turn the lights on together. But metering them separately is really just the easiest way to go.
Metering them and getting an intensity and a direction is the other thing I really want to sort of go through, is so you can start to visualize what each light is doing and where it's lighting up your subject and how you want to control that light. So the other thing I want to bring in now, and to be honest, it's not as bad as it was earlier, but let's just do this just for fun. I'm going to take another shot here. What I did was, well, that didn't do what I wanted to do either.
It's always trial and error.
That's what's fun about this. You can just sort of play around. All right, that's still not as bad. Well, okay, let's go with that. So what we're getting here, what I was getting before actually in some of the earlier shots that I wanted to show you, was I was getting some light spilling onto the background, onto the base here, and I wanted to control that. So that's where these barn doors on these little, these guys, the barn doors, work really good. You can sort of cut that light. I've got this backwind cutting the light, making sure there's no light going onto the backdrop. Let's try something like that.
Let me just come in real quick, Tracy, and show them a closer view of those barn doors. We have one camera that moves here, guys.
Yes.
If I can sneak through here.
Yeah. Good with the cables there.
Sorry, that probably looked pretty janky.
So these are the barn doors. Basically, again, what I've got here is one of our speedlight adapters. Really cool little item, not expensive at all. Goes onto a regular speedlight, rectangular head, and it's magnetic, set of magnetic barn doors. Just snaps right on, and we've got those. Works really good. So essentially what I'm doing is just really fine-tuning where I want that light to go and keep it in the direction I want. The other way to do this, I'll do another shot here. Oh yeah, there we go, okay. The other way to do this is with something called flags. And we sell a flag net and silk kit, which has some larger ones. We can maybe show you this larger one here in a bit. It's about 2 feet by 3 feet. But you can also get, in this kit, you would get these little flags as well too. Can we see that, Kevin? Okay.
Yeah, if you bring it closer to the light here.
Okay.
For a quick second.
Right about here?
Yeah.
Perfect. So all this is basically just a piece of kind of velour fabric, but it's completely black. It blocks the light, and I've just got it mounted to basically one of our reflector arm holders, and with a grip head on the top here. And now I've got essentially a little, we call it a flag because it flags the light where you don't want it to go. It basically stops it. And sometimes they call them gobos as well too. It goes between the light and your subject. So essentially all it's doing is just blocking the light, and you're cutting off the light where you don't want it. These are really good for cutting off light to backgrounds. They're good for essentially feathering, giving you an edge to your light and being able to really control where that light goes. And so I can just sort of bring this in here like this to make sure that any of that light doesn't spill where I don't want it. There's also comes with a little round one as well too. And again, these, for this type of photography, for product photography like this, these are fantastic because, again, you want really precise control over where the light goes or where the light doesn't go, reflections of lights, all that kind of thing. And you can really very precisely control where that goes. One other thing I use as well too, sometimes for flags, are just pieces of sort of foam like this, and you can sort of bend these, shape these, cut them, and make little flags out of them as well too. They work really nice as well. So let's go back here. Let's do another shot. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. But let's say, just for fun, we want to take off that little bit of light on that far wing over there. Let's see if that'll do it. No, I have to come down a little bit farther with this.
Yes, this is a slow and repetitive process.
Yeah, patience. And
just want to say, guys, it might be hard to see some of this stuff on camera right now because, like I mentioned before, we wanted you to really see these modeling lights in action. So kind of sacrifice some ability to show you some things in good light here. But if there's anything you want to see, we are also doing kind of daily live streams, so we can pull all this stuff out again tomorrow or whenever. You can book a consult with us too. That's something we're happy to do.
Absolutely. So there's a good example of that one. So pull up that last one, Kevin.
There we go.
And maybe that's the second last one. There's a very good example of a flag in action, the difference between those two shots.
Yeah, so
we totally cut that light off.
No flag, flag.
So now it's just a matter of just really tweaking that just a little bit. I just want to bring that up a bit. There we go. And so now I've got that light basically just on this one wing. There's a teeny highlight over there. I can live with that kind of thing. So, but it's just really fine tuning, playing around with flags and blocking that light, getting it exactly where you want to go.
I think that highlight is fine because we want to play with our reflective surface a little bit.
Exactly, yes. I actually don't mind that. So now, my next question is, how are we doing for intensity? I would like to go a touch brighter with that. So this is my B light, my B flash. So right now it's at 1/32 plus 0.7. So I'm just going to bump that up maybe 2/3. Well, let's try a stop, 1/16. So going from 1/32 power to 1/16 power is increasing the light by a stop. So that should give us twice as bright. There we go. That's a little better. That's what I want. Yeah, nice little highlight coming across the top there. Bring that wing in like that. All right, so I think we're good for our B light. So now I'm going to turn off my B. I'm going to go back to my C light. We'll turn that guy on. And so now what I've got here, C light with a grid, same sort of, it's that accessory kit that we have, comes with the barn doors, comes with the grid, and so now I've got a grid on this guy, and...
Show that a little closer.
Oh, sorry, yep, I will. Which one? This one? Yeah. So this is the grid, and basically it's the same type of grid that we have on that 8300 up top, a little bit more open, but it's designed for speed lights, just clips onto that accessory bracket again. And now what I want to do with this one is kind of highlight the little guys down here, sort of bring them in and get some light on them. So I'm actually going to maybe take this light and set it down like this. I'm probably going to want it fairly low power because I don't want to have a ton of light on them. So right now it's at 1/64th power. So let's give that a try. Let's see how that looks. And again, this is that's the only one that should be firing. Not bad. How's it look, Kevin?
You could go a touch brighter.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Let's bring that up a stop. 64th, 132nd. Okay.
Is that an 8200 you're using on that one?
Nope, this is the X60 manual.
There we go. So that's the answer to that question. It was an X60 manual.
This is just another speed light.
And it's just got that round head accessory adapter.
Exactly, with the grid on it, yep. Oh yeah, there we go. That's better, eh?
Yes, I think that is looking just about perfect, actually.
Looks pretty good. Can we zoom in on Lightroom here and just have a quick look? Oh yeah, that's good. Pretty good.
Focus is a little off, it seems.
Yeah, focus is a touch off.
Oh, nope. It was just loading.
Just loading. Yeah, that actually looks not too bad. I think we'll get a bit of light coming in on that other guy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can always go check the previous one as well. Yeah, we're getting from your B light, we're getting
light coming through.
Yeah, we're getting a bit on all three of them.
Okay, perfect. So that should once we get them all together. Okay, so we've got A, B, C now. Now our D light. Actually, you know what? Let's put all three of these together and see where we're at, and see where we need, if we need some more light anywhere. So I'm going to turn A on. I'm going to turn B on.
Got a bit of a suggestion here.
Yes, absolutely.
To move the blaster down on the guy on the left. Looks like he's been held up.
This guy?
Hang on a sec.
Guy on the left, yeah. He's got a big one. Big gun.
Casting shadow in the middle there.
Yep, good call. Thank you. Yeah, that'll be better actually. Okay. All right. So our A light's at 1/4.7, B is 1/16.7, and C is 1/32.7. So I've got all three of them turned on. So we're good to go here. I'm going to take a shot with all three now.
Okay, guys, so that's kind of what it looks like when they all come together. And at this point, we can do some fine tuning because we've seen all three individually, so we know kind of what's happening here.
Exactly. So, now what I'm seeing overall, it's pretty good, I'd say. I am getting a bit of light on the right-hand side, the bottom on the right-hand side, and the left side there from on the background. I'm going to figure out which light that's coming from. So that's where I think I'd want to flag this light. Actually, it might be from the top there. Let's do another one. Okay, let me do one thing here. So now again, we can turn off. Again, this is why I love this app. I can turn off and on my lights, fire just a single light, and see where that problem is coming from. So maybe it's coming from that C light.
Sorry, Tracy, I'm a little preoccupied. Didn't quite catch that, but I could help you here. What was the problem you were looking for?
So what I'm seeing on this shot with all of the lights, a little bit too bright on the bottom.
Yes.
On either side, right? They're lighting up the background a bit.
Yeah, I am catching that as well. And this would be easy enough to kind of paint out, but we're going to try to get it as close in camera as possible.
How does the overall exposure look on everything there, Kevin?
It looks all right to my eye. If a bit too even, I think we might want to change the balance a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. It's actually a bit more overall, a bit more light. I like the direction of a lot of the light coming in, but I would say it's not quite as dramatic as I'd like. So I think I'd like to go...
maybe 2/3 of a stop down on your B light or something.
I'm actually going to drop everything down slightly. Again, that's what's really cool about this app too, is if I have all three of these groups set up, I can go up top here, oops, and I can adjust it, and it adjusts everything up and down. So it brings all my lights up or all my lights down, which is really cool. Other than having to, you can't do that on your trigger. You have to go to each group and bring it down by an amount. Next group, bring it down by amount. So that's what's really cool. So let's try one more shot where everything's dropped it down a bit.
James brings up a good point. You can actually use your cursor to sample areas of the image and see where it falls on the histogram. I can check if anything's clipping. Right now, obviously we're clipping a lot of black, but I don't see any white. I think what Tracy's trying to do at the moment, though, is just kind of bring down the overall exposure. So he dropped all the lights down by a similar degree, just to bring this.
That's more what I'm looking for right there, that last shot. How's that looking?
Yeah, that is looking better to my eye too. I can still see that there's a bit of color information coming out of parts of the background, but it's so trivial to paint this out now.
That would be a real easy fix, exactly. Yeah, I think so. I like the reflections. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the reflections. Let's do one more.
Yeah, actually, even if I was to just go into my basic section here and I was to just drop the blacks a little bit, that's taking care of that.
Blacks or shadows, yeah.
Still just a slight bit there. But a more precise way of doing that is I could take an adjustment brush and just paint it out.
Yeah, I've done that many times as well too. I'm just going to try one more here. Actually there, that actually fits. It's pretty much what I wanted to do on the right side. All I did on the right side was I just moved that bottom barn door up slightly, and that cut the light coming down and hitting the bottom. So how does that last one look there, Kevin?
Yeah, it's pretty good. So on the right side, your background is almost completely out, and on the left, there's a bit remaining. But we're getting real picky now.
We are getting pretty picky, but let's see if we can play with that just a little bit. So what I'm going to do, it's a little big. So I'm just going to take a small little piece of my foam here, and I'm just going to sort of, actually that's even too big. Let's see. In the shot. Oh yeah, that's good.
I'll just show you a real easy thing I could do while Tracy's working on that. I could just grab my adjustment brush here, paint an area. I can click down here to show what I'm covering. And that's pretty much the problem area there. Sometimes, like, you really can't trust your eyes. So yeah, mousing over an area and seeing if it's not completely blacked out is a good idea. It's more of a problem on, oh, Tracy just interrupted me there. That's the new shot. That's totally fine. But yeah, so I can just come in here, drop my black levels. And there we go. Now that's completely blacked out. You can see all zeros up here when I mouse over. And really where this might come into play in product photography, more so with white, I would say, it's more noticeable. If you are on a website that's just got a bunch of like white tiles, if your background on your images is even just a little bit off white, it's super obvious. On the black here, that would be less noticeable, but it's still a factor, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point about the white backgrounds. That's definitely, you want white, even white, edge to edge, or else it's really going to show, even if it's a little bit off. Yeah. There. Oh, but then I lost my guy though. So all I did there was I was just using some gaffer tape just to sort of flag, just to cut off the bottom part of this light. But
We lost our Lego man. Especially the guy on the left there.
Yes, exactly. So bit of a give and take there. I think in this case then, what I would do, yeah, I think I just stick with that and just do a little bit of brushwork on that bottom left corner. I might even just crop it in a bit tighter too and get some of that as well. So
yeah, we can change the crop a little bit.
Yeah, but very close.
Drop it to a 4:5.
Yeah, exactly.
Stick by more standard ratios if I can.
Yep. And
that, and then I can just very easily paint this out.
Be a very quick and easy cleanup there.
Sorry about the mic there, guys. Yeah, I've got some presets on my brush here. That's always fun. But there we go. I'll just drop those blacks out. I could also just drop the exposure. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, looks cool as a 4x5.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, that's any comments from anybody out there about other things? Any procedural stuff? Any other questions about what we're doing?
Yeah, guys, we'd love to take a question from the room here if you've got something for us. Can be off the wall, whatever.
Totally. Because then next we'll bring something else in interesting here in just a minute. No, so far so good?
Yeah, quiet room, okay.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. Well, the next thing then, just to sort of spice things up a little bit for fun, we're going to bring in some color. There's a number of different ways to do this. I've done it a fair bit. Actually, we'll start with this. I've done it a fair bit. Again, for this type of stuff, we're using speed lights and small lights and that kind of stuff. Our little speed light gel kit here, a whole bunch of different colored gels that you can use. That's probably going to be hard to see, right? Tough to see.
I can, I got an idea.
Which is your camera?
Give me one moment here, I'll show that.
Okay.
We had a question from Brengwin there. They were asking if we were using all of our lights there, and yes, we were. So
Not quite.
Oh, you did turn one off?
I did. The D light I'm not using at the moment, yes.
Oh, okay. So we decided not to go with one of them, but...
Yeah. Yeah, but getting the results I wanted without the D light at this point. So basically we're doing 3 lights right now. A and C.
Yeah, perfect. Question number 2, why Lightroom and not Capture One? Well, very good question. Capture One's definitely growing on me. That's what I'm using as my go-to now, but we kind of polled some people and it seems like the majority of people are using Lightroom. I do think the tethered capture features do work a little bit better in Capture One, but it's mostly just a decision based on what most people appear to be using.
I personally, I've used Lightroom for years and years and years and years, right when it was first out, and I'm very comfortable in Lightroom. I've played with Capture One a little bit. It's certainly a good program, but I'm just so familiar with Lightroom that I still quite like using it. So yeah.
I think we don't
have Capture One installed on this computer.
I have it actually.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, well, maybe we can use Capture One next time.
Yeah, we'll do one next time. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with it, but Kevin knows it, so we could probably run through it and do some more stuff. Yeah.
Just a real quick, rather than trying to show you this on camera, here's the Speedlight gel kit we were talking about. So they're just essentially like plexi color sheets that'll change the color of the light. So we're gonna have some fun with those.
Yeah. Yeah, let's actually do, well, we'll do one of each here. It comes with a little kit. So what we'll do, just for fun, now that we've got our lighting set up the way we want it, let's throw this blue guy on this one. So pretty straightforward. It's just got a little holder here. You slide the gel in, color gel like this. Actually, you know what? Because I want to keep the grid on there, I'm going to just tape this on. Where did my tape go? So because I want to keep the lighting the same and not alter the, because to put that other little holder on, I'd have to take that grid off and the adapter off and everything, but I want to keep that lighting exactly the same. So what I've just done is on my C light, I've just put a little blue gel. So that's one way to get your color. By gelling, you can gel lights very easily, very simply. The other way is we just got this guy in, or we're getting some more of these in soon, I believe. This is the Godox R1, right?
Yep, R1.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very new product. We don't even have it yet, actually. That's just our sample we're looking at.
But as you can
See here, it is a full RGB light that will change to any color. It's a great little light. It's very compact. It's very easy to use. Lots of different features on it. Different, yeah, something like that. And we'll just throw this on.
Here's where you might want to use a live view, or if you have a mirrorless camera, it's you could turn on your exposure preview, and then you can see exactly what your ambient light is doing.
Once again, works with all the same accessories that the round head adapter comes with. So I'm just going to throw a grid on there to give me a little tighter spread on it. I'm going to turn my B flash off. So now this guy is basically in the B position. And actually I'm going to, just because I think that's going to light up the background too much there, I'm going to actually take and put it on this stand. So we're going to do the same thing with this light that we did with the speed light. And of course, this is now a continuous light. So we don't need, it doesn't need to be synced or have any kind of receiver or anything in it. It's just going to be a constant light that is going to shine. And we don't need to worry about triggering it. Let's go something like that. Now, the trick is going to be, is it as bright as the other lights, and will it show up? So let's give this a try here. So we've got 2 flashes. So
that was just a bit of shooting from the hip, so to speak.
It's a good little lesson on how bright LED lights are compared to
flashes.
Yeah, exactly. We're actually not getting that LED in there at all, so we need to...
So let's go back to, anyways, we could do this.
Here's what I would suggest in this scenario is, like I said before, just turn on your live view. Make sure your exposure preview is on. If you're shooting a mirrorless camera, that's just a toggle, essentially. And then you already know what your flash exposure is going to be from our previous shots. And so we're just going to bring in that ambient. And I'll probably, to make this easier, I'll just turn off that light that we're using on Tracy right now.
Okay. The other thing I'm going to try and do here too is I'm going to drop the shutter speed, because but what I want to do is turn off the modeling light on the 300. So I want to get as, I don't want to have any ambient light. Yeah, if we can turn this one off real quickly. There we go. So now if we have very little ambient light, I can drop my shutter speed, because there's no...
You would also just see the other camera.
Over here? Is that better?
Okay.
There we go. Now we have something to look at.
We can drop the shutter speed and pull in, really now the only ambient light in the shot is that LED red light. So the flashes will go off and light up the subject with the flash, and then I'm going to keep my shutter speed open longer to pull in some of that ambient red light. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, so shutter speed does not affect your flash exposure at all, and the reason is because your flash is a fixed duration. So it's kind of a funny way of thinking about it, but think about it as like an exposure time within an exposure time.
Yeah. And now we're starting to get some of that red light.
And I'm down to half a second now for a shutter speed.
So actually here might be a good place for me to actually trigger the camera from Lightroom instead.
That would be an excellent idea because I
Might be getting some camera shake in there when I'm taking the picture. So let's do another one there, Kevin. Yeah.
There we go. So now that was completely steady on the tripod, no chance of moving it.
And once again, now it's looking pretty cool. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. It's I'd say the top of the wing maybe, and where we're getting it in the reflection on the left.
I would
Like to get, I would like to increase the blue a bit. So I'm going to bring the sea light up a bit. Make it a little brighter.
Something angular like this is really fun to work with for gels because what happens when you like use multiple color gels on the same area is they can bleed into each other and then kind of lose saturation.
Yeah.
My modeling light's still turning on here. There we go. And then what we need to do is flag that corner, right? So we're getting, because that one corner is a bit hot there. There we go, that should.
We'll turn the lights on and get a room camera going again in a second here, folks.
If you can, I don't know if you can see it too well there, but with a continuous light and a modeling light, I was able to actually see the shadow of the flag on the wing there, exactly where I want it. And so I know exactly where to put that flag. Okay, let's fire another one, Kevin. Oh, there we go. That's better, eh?
Yeah. So I would say that's much better. Yeah, we're getting the blue now.
We're getting some more blue on the front edge there of our guys, and we're getting that red coming across the other one. So just
kind of playing around, having some fun with some colors and gels, and you can throw a gel on the background. You can throw it, wherever you want to give you an effect with it. It'll be really fun to play with.
I got a question here. If we did use the D-light, would it have affected this shot?
Yes, very likely. Basically, I had the D-light there ready to go in case I wanted some light somewhere where I wasn't getting it, where if I wasn't happy with with where the lights were. But overall, I was pretty happy with how the shot turned out and with the lighting that was on it. So I didn't go with the D-light. Maybe we can do another one here. We've got a few other things we can play with where we can bring in the D-light as well too. So
yeah, let's get that one light back on here so we can see the scene again without affecting too much. There we go.
So just for fun, take another shot, Kevin.
You'll see how much that ambient light will affect the shot. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm definitely seeing it. It's not, we've lost some.
Yeah, not quite as much as I thought.
We've lost some saturation, definitely though.
It's taken out the saturation of the reds.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's much more, probably much more obvious on my screen here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Again, there's the before, or the after, and then the before. That's why we turned off the room lights there for a second. Tracy, so do we have anything else in store for tonight?
We could. How are we doing for time here?
We're okay. We're right about 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. We can do one more little setup here if we want. Sort of reset. Oh, I know what we were going to do. You had a really neat idea to do to get in really close to a macro shot of a figure with sort of something in the background.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Let's do that.
Do we want to do Yoda's hut here with that?
Yoda's hut sounds good to me.
Okay.
If anyone's just joining us, yes, you are watching some grown men play with Lego, and we're having a great time. I mean, what else is there to do right now other than play with Lego?
Exactly.
Anyone's got a question for the room, just drop it in the chat anytime.
All right, I'm going to take the acrylic off for this one. I don't think we need a reflection for Yoda.
What was our shutter on that last scene? I can actually see it here in Lightroom. Looks like we were at, 0.6 of a second, so getting pretty long there. That's why I was the one triggering it. We didn't want to disturb the tripod at all.
All right, so what I'm thinking is, whoops. We'll get that guy in a minute. Okay, so let's set this one up again. We're gonna do, let's do Luke over here. Oops.
Rico here's got a comment. He said that most still life photography involves shooting sections and lighting for those sections, then creating a composite in Photoshop to blend each section. And yeah, that's definitely actually something you can do. Then there's really no chance of your lights bleeding together. That can be a really effective thing to do for gels. You'll have more control over the final output. And it's also a pretty good way of shooting on a budget, because technically you only need one light to shoot that way.
Yeah, good point. That is definitely a way to do it. I have done that as well too, and it's a good way to go. What I wanted to do with this was sort of not only just show you how to do the product stuff, but sort of the idea of going through the lights and what the lights do, where they're falling on your subject, and how to combine lights, and even combining, like we did, some ambient light or continuous light with strobe lights, that kind of stuff. So I think it's a good idea to try to do this as well too, so you can really start to get in your head how the lights work, what they're doing, how they're mixing together and giving you the shot that you want, and building that whole lighting setup from scratch kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Start with one, see what that looks like. And yeah, doing this kind of all in one go is a quicker way. But yeah, you could also kind of try to visualize what a final product would look like and just use one light and composite them all together. In that case, you'd want to be real careful about not moving your tripod.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're let's go with kind of a similar setup here.
So is that 300 going to be on from above again?
Yeah, we should have the 300. We should have our A light, our C light. I don't have the B light in here. I've got an idea for what we'll do for our B light. And I brought the 8200 in.
On the camera right here with our barn doors to bring some light from this side. So I've kind of got a top light and one on either side is sort of a key and a fill kind of thing. So let's do, I'll turn the D light on here. D on. We're going to do B off because we're not using the B light. All right, so let's take a shot with that, Kevin, and see what it looks like.
All right, are we still using a long exposure there?
Yes, which means I want to turn off my long lights.
And also probably this one, the big one.
You know what? Let's just for now, let's go back up to fast shutter speed, and then I'll bring that other light in after for my.
Okay.
All right, let's take a shot here. All right, it's looking a little bit hot there.
Yeah. And that's
not the framing and setup we wanted either. So 1 second here. I'm going to get out my macro lens.
Another great thing about shooting tethered is you get a really good visual representation of how your lighting looks. You can use the histogram to get real precise. Again, you know, you can't always trust your eyes. And that's why, you know, you would always use a light meter. But now in the age of digital photography, you're not losing money every time you press the shutter button. So we can just kind of meter in the new sort of digital way if we want to. Of course, a light meter can be a very time-saving thing, especially if you're shooting portraits like back-to-back headshots and that sort of thing. Anyone just joining us who has a question, just feel free to pop it in the chat there.
All right, so what we're gonna do, yeah, that's a good framing. We'll get R2-D2 in here. Nice. So what I wanna do is get right in on Yoda with my macro lens, frame up on him, and sort of have a bit of a blurrier background, throw the background a bit out of focus here. And that should be good there.
Speaking of focus, our one camera is hunting there.
Okay.
Now,
overall, that last shot looked a little bright to you, did it?
What did you say?
Yeah, I would, overall, I probably want to bring that down by maybe half a stop.
Okay.
At least on your main light source there.
Okay, all right, fire off another one. Okay, all right, so
yeah, I don't think we're quite getting what we want there.
A little bit brighter?
I think we want to try to get more on Yoda, and I'm seeing a shadow on him, and it's from the staff that he's holding.
So let's do another shot with the, just brighten it up a bit.
So let's do one more, and then I'll fix that staff.
Ready?
Yeah.
Compositionally, does that look all right?
Yeah, I'd like to get... I'd love it if we got more of a separation there, so maybe we can move Yoda forward a bit, or we could... I mean, the aperture's at f13, and could, for something the size of a figurine like that, we could probably go like f8 or something.
Yeah, well, it's dropping.
Put down a bit, and that'll give us a bit more separation. So let's go 7.1. That's gonna mean we're gonna need...
But again, we do still have that problem with the shadow from the staff. We could fix that by moving it to the other hand. That would be a simple way.
That would be the easiest.
So what's causing that shadow is my C light, this light that's right here. So I'm actually going to come up, I'm going to bring down his staff a bit so it's more like a walking stick, so it's not in front of his face. And I raised up my C light a little bit. All right, let's give that a try.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shadow still seems problematic. We do have a suggestion. We could, from Brangwin, we could use the D light to fill in the shadow from the other side.
We could, or I could bring the C light back in, or sorry, my B light that I'm not using, and fill in the shadow right from in here. That could work. I think actually I like your suggestion, Kevin. Let's just switch hands with it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot better in Yoda's left hand there.
But you could bring in that, the only thing I'm thinking with the fill light is that it might, especially when we're this small, it might be a little too bright. And
To get it to fill that shadow in, you might have
to bring it up enough that I'm going to sort of lose that look that I want.
Yeah, it's bringing in another light on a scene this small is definitely
Might get a little.
Yeah, that's why all those tiny flags can be handy, but I don't know if we're going to be able to be that precise with it at the moment.
Fire off another shot there. There, look at that. That's better, eh?
Yeah. That's looking much better, yep.
Okay, cool. I like that. All right. So
that's kind of what I was going for, that close-up shot of Yoda. We've got sort of his little hut and everything in the background. We've got Luke, and we've got R2-D2. Now,
quick break here. Sorry, we got a question from KCrow73 asking which light we're using our app we're using to adjust the lighting. It's the Godox Photo app, and it actually syncs via Bluetooth with the new X2T controller. So. And hey, we've got Edward with us now. He's watching it on a 70-inch TV, Tracy. So no.
I'm larger than life.
So here's my idea. Yoda lives on a swamp planet. So what if we had some sort of cool green light coming in from behind?
Through this doorway here. Sort of like that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
All right, so as we did before, we know that I took the grid off of that, off of this guy. So we're gonna kind of see what happens. We're gonna get the light coming through the hole here and hopefully sort of edge lighting in behind.
Just gonna move this.
Okay, and I'm just gonna have a quick look through my, oh, yeah. That actually should look pretty cool. So we'll probably need, yeah, I think we're gonna need to kill the big light. And then I'm gonna once again drop my shutter speed right down to, let's go back down to about, well, I took the grid off, so we might have a little more light. I'm gonna go down to quarter of a second.
Oh yeah, and I've also dropped
my aperture, so that'll give us some more, that'll actually give us quite a bit more ambient light as well too. So let's try that and see.
Sounds good. Moonlight Productions says we need some fog, and I 100% agree. And I actually own a fog machine, and now I'm really disappointed with myself for not bringing it.
A fog machine, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I really wasn't thinking here.
Should have got a couple chunks of dry ice.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's take the shot here. So it's almost exactly like the last shot, except we've just added in that green.
So,
why don't we, let's drop our overall exposure on our lights a little bit as well.
Oh, cigarettes would work too, yeah. Unfortunately, no smokers here.
Smoke, yeah. Oh, okay, so our D light is already at, so here's another thing we didn't talk about, but another thing that works in studio situations and even in this situation. But if I want to drop the light a bit more, but I'm actually at, my D light right now is at minimum power. Sorry, my D light is at minimum power, this guy. So if I want to decrease the amount of light coming from that light, I can't anymore because it's at minimum power. But when we're shooting in manual light like this, where we're setting fractional powers and we're basically the light's firing at a consistent level, the easiest way to do that is just
and that's going to drop the power of the light
by a little bit.
Yeah, they can't really see what you're doing right now though, Tracy.
Basically all I'm doing is just moving my C and D lights back slightly just to drop the power of them. And that's the way to decrease power.
Yeah, now that does have another effect. The forward back illumination will become, you'll see less fall off. So bringing your lights in real close, you get a quicker fall off because of the, well, it's called the inverse square law of light. I think we've...
Really, in effect, I only moved it like 6 inches. So it will make a difference, but because we're still working on very small scales, this would be a much larger, you'd see a lot more noticeable difference if you're doing it for a person in a studio situation.
Yeah, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
All right, take another shot there, Kevin. Yeah, that dropped everything just a little bit.
Yeah, so we just lowered the power in a very old school way there. So
Exactly. That's always an option.
I'm kind of liking this whole backlit kind of thing with the green light.
So what I might do now is actually
Turn off. I'm going to turn off the A light, which is my 8300 up top here. I'm going to turn off the C light. And all I'm going to do now is just have this one, the 8200 on camera right, and the light, the green light in the background. Let's drop shutter speed a bit more. Okay, let's try that one.
oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, a little bit. Also, Yoda's Lego shoulders, I don't know why, they just look kind of weird to me. Maybe we could like angle his body up a little more or something.
Do what?
Like have him lean back a little bit, maybe.
Lean back, okay. Nope.
I'm being weird here though. That's not really a problem.
Let's actually switch that. I'm going to turn C on and D off. So I'm going to switch the direction of the light here. Get a bit more light on Yoda.
So the lights.
So instead of having the light on the right side on, I turned the right off, and then now I'm back to the left-hand side.
Yeah. So for those who can't really see it, I mean the scene's kind of evenly lit for part of it, but you see our R2D2 unit over here, very clearly lit from the right side.
So this light should get more light on Yoda.
Sorry, that was my cue and I was a little slow there.
Ooh, okay, now we're getting there, yeah. I'm liking that better.
Yeah, I'm liking that too.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a shadow on R2 that you could probably get rid of by...
Yeah, I would just move him a bit. Yeah.
And the other thing I just remembered too, what I didn't do is I moved Yoda, just so that I can focus. So once again, even if you...
Ooh, that's kind of cool actually. If you move your subject even a tiny bit, when you're this close, that focus has to be bang on, so you got to refocus.
Yeah, so we're using f7.1, which, you know, if you were shooting a human subject, that's like enough for a headshot, and you'd have scads of depth of field if you were shooting a bit further back, like an environmental portrait. But at these macro distances, like that's actually pretty narrow, as you can see here.
Just for fun, try that one.
So we've isolated the green there. I think it looks cool, but...
You can kind of get the idea of Yoda there with his head and his ears, but that's what that green light is giving us. Cool.
So that's playing around. So that's playing around with close-up stuff. Anything else you want to go through?
No, I mean, I think we covered most of what we wanted to. I bet you anything we've forgotten something, though, and someone's going to be mad.
Probably.
But I think I went through sort of pretty much everything I wanted to cover, setting up the lights, playing with isolating your lights, figuring what you want to do with them, how you want to position them. Again, playing with different camera settings, different lenses, different perspectives on the shot. I didn't really talk about the perspective here, but again, that the shot we did with the TIE fighter was sort of a wider kind of standard shot. And then what we did with the macro lenses got in tighter, closer, and now basically focusing on one subject in there and separating them from the background by reducing that depth of field on them as well too. So.
Yeah, guys. One thing I think I said we would do is some quick edits in Lightroom, but we've actually kind of gone through great effort to get this very close to where we want in camera. I did show you in that one scene where you could just kind of paint in the black a little bit. That's a really simple thing. I think for this particular workshop, we are not really showing much of that, but maybe we'll do a more post-processed focused one next time.
Yeah, and really, again, if you get what you want pretty well in camera. Really all I would do to edit these is probably play around a bit with the highlight shadows, you know, just sort of tweak it a bit, maybe bump up the saturation if I had some color in the shot, do a bit of sharpening. That's probably about it.
Really, because everything else you've got it, you know, 97% in camera, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Edward said he enjoyed the show. I'm very glad to hear that. Sorry for the technical bumps. We're definitely still new at this, and we're hoping it's going to get better as we go along. But we're trying to provide some meaningful free content during this time, which you know, we're all kind of bored out of our minds trying to figure out what to do.
We would love to hear from anybody out there too, is ideas for other stuff that you would like to see, gear you would like to go over, types of shoots. Unfortunately, again, right now we can't really
bring a model in to have someone else in here with that.
And we will definitely be doing some of those in the future once things, of course, settle down. But if there's any other ideas you have of stuff that you want to see, content, let us know. Love to hear it.
Yeah, guys, thanks a lot for joining us. I'd love to wave at you right now, but my camera actually died on me, and you know, that was bound to happen, right? And I'd jump in there with Tracy, but that just doesn't seem in the spirit of this whole social distancing thing.
So Kevin's virtually waving, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah, guys, so that's it. We're going to cut off the stream now, but I'm going to actually stay in the Q&A here just for a few minutes to answer a few of those lingering questions. So, yeah, I'll be here, so stick around. And until next time, guys, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Tracy.
And we're from Strobepro.com.